Hello everyone, the voice of thought here. This video is a response to a video by David Wood on the channel Act 17 Apologetics. It's a channel about Christian apologetics, and they are very famous for criticizing Islam more than anything. But they also talk about other subjects that concern religion and philosophy. I highly suggest you check out their channel. It has some very interesting content, regardless of you being Christian or not. I'm not a Christian myself, but he has some valid points about a number of subjects and I like to listen to what he has to say. This is just a respectful response to some of his arguments. The link to the video will be available in the description. All that being said, the video I'm responding to is called the Multiverse Response to the Problem of Evil, and it's aimed at the criticism of the supposed inconsistency between the good nature of God and the existence of natural evil and suffering in the world. It also tries to poke criticism into arguments atheists provide about the multiverse being the reason for the universe being supposedly fine-tuned. So David talks about the universe being fine-tuned for us.
The fundamental structure of the universe has to be finely tuned for intelligent life. The forces and constants of physics, certain physical quantities, the ratios between the masses of atomic particles, and the properties of elements and compounds have to be just right, or we wouldn't be here. Consider some of the forces of nature. Without gravity, there'd be no planets, stars, or galaxies, and I wouldn't even be able to sit in this chair. Without the strong nuclear force, protons and neutrons wouldn't hold together in the nucleus of an atom, and hydrogen would be the only element on the periodic table. Without the electromagnetic force, there'd be no chemical interactions between atoms, and the molecules necessary for life couldn't form. But the fact that we have the necessary forces isn't nearly as surprising as the fine-tuning of the numbers that physicists plug into the laws of nature. These are the constants of physics: the cosmological constant, the gravitational constant, the strong force constant, the fine structure constant. These numbers could have had a wide range of values, and yet the values they actually have fall into the extremely narrow range that make biological life possible. Part of the reason we're alive is that the universe turned out just right for life. Should we attribute this to chance? Did we just get lucky?
I think it's a weak argument. If I was born yesterday, I would assume I could take a vacation in any neighboring planet in the solar system. But let's be real, taking a walk on Jupiter is not a very pleasant thing. In fact, your body will have dissolved before you reach the solid core of the planet, and you might be dead in a few minutes simply because of the radiation before your body dissolves, even if you wear an astronaut suit. Not a very good experience, right? And things aren't too pleasant either in the rest of the planets, or the vast majority of the planets in the universe. A good chunk of the universe is quote-unquote empty, and if you don't wear a special suit, you die from asphyxiation, while temperatures can reach hundreds of degrees under the light of a star and freezing temperatures on the shadow. Even on Earth, you'll find places that aren't that fine-tuned for life, like polar regions, desert, not to mention all the catastrophic events of the past that caused up to 95% of all species back then to become extinct. In my view, the universe was fine-tuned to be a lifeless place, and that's what it is in its almost entirety, except for this very small thing called Earth, and not that much if you think about it. Now let's talk about possibilities. The night sky has trillions of visible stars, and each of these stars have at least a couple of planets orbiting them. Take into account that the visible stars are not all stars there are. Many more are hidden by distance and a couple of other factors, and so does their planets. And it's not only planets. Moons of other planets can also have the capability of supporting life. This isn't an infinite number of stars, planets, or moons, but it's a breathtakingly huge amount that in practical terms is infinity. Let's put it that way. Think about a barren universe devoid of life, which is pretty much our universe. With so many stars and so many planets, you'd expect that, at least in one of them, the occurrence of life would be possible because of the sheer amount of possibilities. And that's what we observe in our universe. Despite all the emptiness of the universe, we know of one planet, and so far it's the only one we know of that harbors life: Earth. It seems to me that David Wood is attached to the form of life that we have on Earth. I think it's a lack of imagination. There could be other possibilities. We could have forms of life adapted to different temperatures, pressures, and based on a completely different composition. On Earth itself, we see it in action, with bacterial life living in both hot and cold temperatures in environments that are toxic for us, fish that live in the depth of the sea under extreme amounts of pressure, and so on. I can also imagine life forms that could be adapted to different sorts of laws of physics in the multiverse. It's not like life depends exclusively on the exact and precise constants of our universe. At least there is no way to prove otherwise with all we know so far. We don't know how different other universes can be. We don't know what they hold in common. Many of the things we say about the subject today are assumptions, because we simply don't know enough to take any conclusion. David then made the hypothesis that God may have created the multiverses, and that, by itself, it solves the problem of evil.
I'm going to offer the multiverse response to the problem of evil. I'm simply going to say, what if God created a multiverse? What if God created an infinite array of universes? God certainly has the power to do that. Suppose God created each universe with different features. Perhaps the vast majority of alternative universes are the hedonistic paradises that atheists say God should have made. But in our universe, God did things a little differently. He gave people a great deal of free will. He made a place where lots of things go wrong so that people can develop virtues like courage and compassion. He punished rebellion. Can you really say that God couldn't do this in just one of the infinite universes he created? On what basis can you say that he couldn't? Your feelings? Why should your feelings about the multiverse response to the problem of evil bother us any more than our feelings about the multiverse response to cosmic fine-tuning bother you? Or are you going to say that there's something really, really weird about appealing to an infinite array of unobservable, undetectable alternative universes to explain away the features of the one we actually observe? Too late to say that now. The problem of evil has been defeated. All thanks to the multiverse.
By hypothesizing that a god made an infinite array of universes, you didn't solve the problem of evil. This is not a matter of emotion, like David said. It's a matter of inconsistency between the belief Christians hold and what we observe. He could have made a trillion of perfectly good universes. If he allowed suffering in one of them, it still contradicts his nature. And that's the whole point of the problem of evil. So I don't know if he's being sarcastic or something, because the multiverse hypothesis is not 100% proved. But his conclusion just doesn't follow. David then shows yet again what I call a limited, not very imaginative perspective of things. The virtues David talks about are only valuable because we have suffering in the world. If we had an option of a world without suffering, where we didn't need to develop virtues, I'd still pick it. It's like saying we live in a forest where there's a dangerous huge tiger and we learn to appreciate the value of fire because it keeps the tiger away. In that case, I would have preferred if the tiger didn't exist to start with, and I'd have no remorse in losing the notion of the value of the fire, because the non-existence of the tiger serves the purpose of fire itself, keeping the tiger away. Likewise, the virtue of goodness is, in a way, meant to prevent suffering from being cast upon people. Therefore, I'd rather have no suffering in the universe. Then the purpose of goodness would be met. To close things off, if an atheist or a scientist, or an atheist scientist says our universe constants could be what resulted of a series of random universes, this is a scientific hypothesis that is yet to be proven and is serving the purpose of explanation of what we see. And it's not a contradictory explanation like the good God hypothesis. So I'm not quite sure what's the point David is trying to make in his video. But I think he didn't prove anyone wrong, nor he solved the problem of evil. Anyway, I hope you appreciated my opinion on this matter. Leave your comments down below below if you agree or disagree with anything I said, and consider leaving a like and sharing this video so more people can join the discussion. These are my thoughts. See you next time.